Hey, welcome everyone to the From the Shadows podcast. I am your host, Shane Grove. And before we get started with this episode, I just want to remind everybody you can go check us out at the FromTheShadowsPodcast.com. And from there, you can contact me by hitting the contact button. Send me an email if you have a story you want to share and if you want to come on the show. Or you can find all of our social media on there, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and check out everything we do on there every day. Join in the fun. And if you want to get a hold of me, you can find me at Shane Grove Author on Instagram. Shoot me a message and I'll respond. That being said, I'm excited. We have a returning guest from an old school returning guest from back in the early days. Paranormal investigator, Dogman investigator, Bigfoot investigator, whatever, extraordinaire, Mr. Bryan Bowden. Thank you and welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me back, Shane. Yeah, I do it all, and I'm an idiot sometimes with that. Yeah. So UFOs. I always say paranormal is more ghosts. So do paranormal, UFOs, and that includes extraterrestrials, drones, experiencers, and then you get into the cryptid or mysterious beasts like Bigfoot and the Dogman and some other crazy, things that are out there. But
well, golly, you were probably on one of our first 50 shows, which is a long, long time ago. And I think it was a two-parter, and it was you told some great Dogman stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I encourage everybody who's big Dogman fans, and I know we have a lot, go back to the early days, check out that. But I want to catch back up with you on what's going on in your world when it comes to Dogman now.
Well, I became the director of Region 5 for the North American Dogman Project. That's Jody Cook's baby. So that's the Dirty South. And it's really funny. One of my buddies is Region 3, which is like where we end, he begins. So basically, we own the East Coast and a little bit inward on the Dogman front. And surprisingly, in this neck of the woods, I haven't heard too many reports of Dogman. We did have, I moved from New York to Florida, but I keep going back up because my kids and they go to camp up there or whatever. So so I get to do the summer stuff here and there. And there's a lot more Dogman sightings, coming out of the New York State area actually now, middle of the state, than there are in other parts of the country. But we did have one. We had a Dogman sighting couple of years ago, but people still worry about it because they say they see these really ominous looking large dog, and sometimes it seems like it's standing on its rear legs. That's a Dogman. So let me just explain. A Dogman sounds cute, but it's not. So it would be a werewolf, but not someone that transforms into it. This has nothing to do with being a transforming from one type of physical being into another. This has to do with a species. So it's a lichen, it's a wolf, and it does have humanist qualities to it. Kind of like Bigfoot looks like an ape or Gigantopithecus, but it has certain human qualities to it. And there's different types. There's ones that look a little bit more like a Bigfoot, backwoods Bigfoot. Versus, there's ones that look a little bit more like a baboon or a hyena, a little bit more ferocious. And then you have something called the soldiers, which look pretty much like your. And I always use the movie Van Helsing. You don't want to meet them. It's like the fangs, the claws, 8-9 feet tall, and they're pretty intense. But we did have a woman who was videotaping. She heard something out in Fort Pierce, Florida, which is on the East Coast, just north of I don't know if it is in Palm Beach County. I think it may be, just in that area. And she videotaped her backyard, which was some grass, a telephone pole, and then what looked like high shrubs, but that could have been Calusa. It was at night, and this thing looked exactly like a bipedal werewolf, and from the pole super fast. And you caught it initially in the camera because the camera it did catch it, but when you slow it down, you see something moving like super quick to the next or out of frame. And she was like, "Oh, I'm going inside," and I don't blame her. It's not something you really want to see for the most part.
So did she? I mean, you said it moved so quick. Was she able to tell that it wasn't something she wanted to be out there with?
Yeah, she was able to see. This is where it's really weird. So, a lot of people have iPhones, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have one. I have a 12 or whatever. Apparently, the 19's better. The camera catches things better. I mean, your eye catches things better than the camera, depending on what year it is. So as technology advances, for some reason, Samsung has been making cameras and Google has made cameras that are so good that are on a mobile platform. You can film a movie with them. Like, like when you see the full moon and you can see some of the craters and details, and then you take your iPhone and you try to take a picture and it's just like this, it's like, what is that?
Yeah.
With that blue artifact that comes in. Well, this definitely caught some stuff, but I know, knowing how cameras work at that point, she definitely saw something that scared the crap out of her. And I've been trying to get in contact with this woman since I moved down here. But a lot of people don't want to talk about it because they say it may be a harbinger of death because it kind of reminds them of Anubis, and Anubis was the god of death, and they don't want to provoke something. Or if you're indigenous, you don't really talk about skinwalkers, or the Wendigo, because they don't even mention it. It's kind of like that Harry Potter thing. He who must not be named. It's really weird because you fear he's going to come.
Yeah. And that you're simply by saying it, you're saying, "Hey, I'd like to see it. Yeah, I'd like to see you. So come on, stop by."
I'll give you a great example. A bunch of years ago, probably 10 years ago, when I was asked to join a group of investigators in New York State, were we going to Letchworth Village? Letchworth Village is a 28,000 square acre facility where they house the unwanted, the deformed little bastard children, whatever, embarrassments. They did a lot of experiments. It was like a mental institution / they did experiments on people there. A lot of people died. And we were all grouped together, and one guy had a red shirt on, so it was very Star Trek-y. I'm like, that's the guy that's dying on this episode. You know what I'm saying? It's the red shirt thing. Like, of all things, we're going on investigation wearing red. Have you watched Star Trek? It's the red shirt curse. So we're standing there, and one of the other guy goes, we're up near Rockland County. There are military bases up here. There's nuclear bases. There's an underground base we can go to. I know it's within this area. So we started thinking about it. Well, our psychic for our group, her name is Cindy Bailey Dove. She was part of the star team MUFON. She knows Dolan. She worked with, they were working together, a bunch of people. She is a top tier psychic. She's out of Arkansas. She's awesome. She's my Yoda. She is the one that I worked with when I wanted to explore my abilities, which I called remote viewing, but she would go, "You're psychic like me," in the Arkansas accent. I'm like, okay, I'm psychic like you. And I am. So we were just talking about it, and we were like, oh, that'd be cool. We go underground. We'll have these bases. Well, the next day, after we go on our investigation, that same night at 2:33 in the morning, she wakes up she is transported into that underground, and she comes up against this creature, as she described, with horns, and she said it smelled like bad flesh, and poison, and it was hideous and scary, and it basically told her, "Don't come here." So she was in the base. We didn't know that. So the next day, me and my buddy are together, and she calls up, "Where the hell are you guys going next?" And we're like, "We're not going anyplace, Cindy." He goes, "Don't lie to me. You going to a base underground?" We're like, "Holy shit. How did that happen? What are you talking?" Yeah. Well, I got visited by what's down there. They don't want you down there, and you don't go down there. Not only was she visited in the middle of the night, and that scared the crap out of her enough to get up out of her house and salt her entire property at 3 a.m. She had a scratch on her arm. It scratched her.
To wake her up?
To tell her,
to
get her attention. I'm not messing around. This is real. And I'll keep coming back at you. She connected to it. And she goes, "Look at my arm." And she had a picture of it. And it was a big scratch. So we scratched that investigation because we scratched it. We didn't need to go. Yeah, we're good. I think we're good. Let's go to a plan B.
Gosh. Yeah. So that's one of those where you guys were talking about it and invited it, we not knowing.
Oh, I think we were in the area because the guy that told us about it, he says it's literally around here someplace. And unbeknownst to us, because we were focused on that, the big facility and how we're going to tackle this, because part of it is you can walk through some of it, but the rest of it's trespassing. You can't go in the buildings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't have permission, and I'm not saying we did or didn't do this, you got to be very careful that you do it at your own risk. And sometimes you should always do investigations with more than one person. God forbid there's a problem. Someone can go get help. And also I'm going to stress this, that if you do it with someone that, one or two other people, make sure you can run faster than those people. Just leave it at that.
That's what, yeah. I don't have to outrun the Dogman. I just have to outrun you.
You just have to outrun Billy Ray. Billy Ray's like, "Hold up, guys." I'm like, no, we're good. So we're doing that. And I think we were in that area or above that ground, and it may have known it was triggered. It knew, because, this is going to get a little bit intense for you guys, but I believe that there's almost like a collective consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
When you vibrate at a higher frequency, when you pass from this realm into the next, and be you going up or down, there is a source. I believe Bigfoot has. They all know each other. I know the Dogman. Everybody that's had an encounter with the Dogman says it reads their mind. It talks to them telepathically. I did not have that experience, and they just knew what our moves were going to be. If you listen to some Dogman stories, you'll have like a guy who has a gun, and he has an encounter with a Dogman. So this thing's 8-9 feet, ferocious, and telling him you need to go. He's nervous, and he's ready to cock his weapon, and he hears from the Dogman. He goes, "I didn't say it, but I heard him loud and clear. Don't do it." And then when he took a second to think, another one appeared. So I think we discussed it. Whenever you're dealing with Dogmen and you have one at your 12 o'clock right in front of you, I guarantee you will have one sweeping to go to your 6 o'clock. They work in like pairs. So it's like a pack of wolves, right? You're focused on this, but there's 3 of them coming behind you.
Mm-hmm.
They're very clever. They know what they're doing. But they also remember. It's almost that if they met you, Shane, and you did something stupid, and then you, like in Ohio, and then you went to, I don't know, Georgia, and you had a Dogman, like, isn't that guy from Ohio? They kind of tap into it. So it's weird, but they definitely tap into you, and they know what you've done in the past. So they know whether you're easy prey or a problem, or wanted by them for doing something dangerous to the herd. Pretty scary, right?
That is. I'm going to have to tell the judge that, because I don't think he has ever run across where that idea that they would remember. But he did. But he actually did have somebody tell him, who was not into Dogman but was into hunting, and said, "Look, that Dogman wasn't alone.
Yep,
he was trying to push you towards the rest of the pack.
It's hurting you. Oh,
Yeah,
100%.
And that really shook the judge up after he heard that. I mean, 25 years later, it shook him up hearing that, thinking, "Oh my God, if I'd have went the other way, I might have been going right into this trap."
It's I remember talking with the judge about it, and like, you were being monitored and watched. There was more than one, and you just didn't realize it. I had an encounter with the dog. I didn't see them. I saw their eyes, big amber eyes, glowing. And I can't describe the feeling of, it's like a scared feeling, but it's, like, something's not right. Something's wrong here. Something's wrong. I need to go. It's not scared. It's just like that gut feeling. And this was in Elkton, Maryland.
Okay.
I'm staying at a hotel, and I always plan my trips right next to Waffle Houses. Because you got to have a good breakfast. Okay, so we're on the first level. Nothing really. I'm not really scared by many things whatsoever, at all, really, except the doctor saying it's a girl. I'm like, oh, fuck, again, or seeing that IRS letter in the mail, for we're like, oh God, we received your check. I'm like, you guys are killing me, man. So I went outside. We're on the first level of it, and I went outside, and we had a little bit of a backyard to this motel. So it was a Hampton Inn, and behind it was some train tracks. Now, they love train tracks. They love those causeways, easy access, so they can travel. Not going to be bothered by anybody, not really going to be seen. And there was this path cutting through the woods, and there were these arches and weird trees. Now, dogmen, when they make these structures to mark their territory, they don't just bend a tree over. They lift it out of the ground with the roots hanging and flip it upside down. And then they attach tree limbs to that. So it's like a hovering umbrella. It's very impressive, like, who the hell did that type of stuff. But I'm sitting there smoking a cigarette. I see these bright eyes, and I'm getting this Dogman vibe. So I'm quickly like, werewolf, Elkton, Maryland. And I'm like, holy crap. Husband and wife are coming back from something at night. They see what they look like, a wolf or a coyote eating some prey in the roadway. It's right in front of them. They stop the car. The head comes up. They see these bright yellow, amber, glowing eyes. The thing stands up. They said it was about 9 feet tall. And they've never been that scared in their lives. And it told them to go. And it was talking to them in their head. And they turned around. They went a different way home. That happened literally, like, I would say no more than a mile, 2 miles from where that hotel was, but on the other end of these little woods. So I'm now becoming investigator mode, and I hear something walking. I see the eyes moving towards me at a distance. But as I'm hearing it and I'm smoking a cigarette, I hear something kind of flanking me. It's, coming around. So I'm standing right outside the side entrance of the hotel. I'm a little bit higher because the grade, to get down, I would have to probably jump 6 feet down, get to the grass that went down. And then that was like a trail going into it. And it's something's coming from that direction. And I'm hearing something sneaking around the other side. And then at one moment, it kept coming, and I got goose pimples. At the time, whenever the goose pimples come, and they just pop up. Something's going to happen. It may be fun and it may not be. Just said, no, seriously. I mean, that was my tell at the time. I already.
Well, what could have fun have happened?
Well, you know what? You're going to get an interaction. So if you went to like a ghost, like a haunting, you're going to get that haunting thing, you know.
Okay.
Oh, look, it's a ghost, something's floating. I mean, you know, I like Bigfoots, and to see them, we know something. You're going to get action. You're going to be a tree knock, whatever, or it means you need to get the hell out of there. And I took it as you need to get the hell out of there. Everything in my body said, go, go, go. So I went inside. I dropped my cigarette, went inside, and I told my wife, because my two daughters we had 2 beds, and they were sleeping. I said, "Don't go out the side, to smoke. Go in the front of the building." And she goes, "Oh, I'm not going to go out anymore." And this is the first time I ever did this. I took their rolling chair and I literally wedged it under the door handle. Like, that's going to stop something like this.
Exactly.
It was just totally out of my character. It was very unnerving, but I think they knew what I knew. They were like, "Oh, he'll feed the whole family for a while." You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, this is their opportunist, and that's what they do. And what's one more missing person, So
yeah, exactly.
That was that experience right there. And
then now going back to what you just said about them, having a collective conscious too. Do you think that because you'd had other interactions with dogmen that you're standing outside near this other place that they're like, "Oh, wait a second, here's this guy standing up here"?
Yeah. Well, no, it was. I stood pretty tall because I'm smoking, and I'm like, it wasn't until like that where it got a little bit. You get that snap of the branch, and it's close, like, it could be 10 yards, that's close enough.
Oh, yeah.
You're talking about something that big. And I just felt I was going to be the prey. So I kind of stood my puffed my chest, but I was like, I got to go. And I went inside. So I don't know what that moment was, but I know that actually I've stayed in that hotel since, and I still, I've gone out the side, haven't seen anything, haven't heard anything, not the same vibe whatsoever again. So something was very interesting. I don't know if you know Vic Cundiff. I don't want to get into the fight. Okay. So Vic, I'm talking to him, I was friendly with him, and he goes, let me hear what you got. And I told him about that. He goes, I definitely want to record you. And I said, but it didn't seem like much. It's, there was something there, but he goes, no, I'll tell you something later. Dogmen are very, very, very attracted to smoking.
Really?
Yeah, they like the tobacco to begin with, but most people go off on their own to smoke. Yeah, right? Think about it.
I gotcha. So they smell the smoke and they automatically identify it with easy prey because somebody's by themselves.
Maybe 1, 2, and they can take 2 without even thinking about it. They are so quick and agile. It's the same thing as, like, if you had a dog, like some of the dogs that are trained for the military, they are so fast. By the time you think about running, they already got you, and they block your path and you're done. This is what animals do. This is how they live. This is where their payday comes from, right? So that was that. But getting back to that Letchworth Village thing, on Letchworth Village property, not where we were, there is a mass grave, 300 plus people. So my buddy and I said, hey, let's go. We'll do an investigation of the cemetery. So we can do a day-night thing. So we pull there, we find it. It's in the backwoods, 2-lane road, country road, a couple of houses sparingly. And when you pull up to it, you would never know there was a massive grave there. So there's a little parking area on the left where you can park, and you walk down this path, which is butts up against the utility corridor. Mm-hmm. And you walk down it about a quarter mile, opens up and there's a mound in the middle of you. And there's a path that goes left and right. And someone put a large, probably like 4.5 feet, high by like 8 feet wide, concrete stump with a plaque on it, memorializing the unknown that people are tracing it. So we're on paranormal investigation. That's how I am. I'm on paranormal mode. I'm not on cryptid mode. I'm not on Bigfoot. I'm not on anything else. And my buddy is a little bit more on, there's a lot of big dogs barking. And so we do our separate investigations, and we put our stuff behind that concrete wall because one, it'll block us, that if someone comes up the path, they're not going to see people sitting there. Two, we got our backs covered protective wise, so we have a shield area there, whatever. So we go in there, and as we're setting up, we're sitting down talking about game plan. These two kids come flying in by a 4x4. And they're like, we're looking for them. We can't find them anyplace. Like they're running around, and we found it interesting. Like they're talking to somebody. I think they're looking for us. So when they come back around, we'll just step out and we'll say hi, whatever. So we said hi to them. They come out and they're like, what are you doing here? We're like, oh, we're paranormal investigators. We're investigating the Letchworth Cemetery. And they don't even give us a chance to go, they're paranormal investigators. We're going out. We're out. And they couldn't get out fast enough. They wouldn't want to be there. Like their dad or somebody said, go in there and see who the hell these people are, because they knew something was dangerous in the area. That's the vibe I got right off the bat. So I said, that's weird, huh? And he goes, yeah, that was really, really strange. I said, well, maybe next time if they come back, we can stop and ask them, like, have you seen anything strange here? He goes, yeah, that's a good idea. So we do this investigation. We go around. We're doing the EVP stuff. And then we follow this path up a little bit further. And then it opens up at the top of this little hill, maybe 75 yards where it's about 100 yards where the cemetery is, opens into the corridor for the, the power lines. And it seems like there's a road that goes over the hill. It's dirt biking in there or something. And him and I, coming from the city, were like, dude, we would have been smoking weed here and drinking beers every Friday, Saturday night. That's what we did growing up. I'm going to be brutally honest. I don't do any of that now anymore. Too responsible. Hope my kids don't listen to this. So we thought it was really cool, but we know that these creatures like to use the corridor, but there was nothing to this point that said Bigfoot or Dogman. And we're sitting there and we're trying to use it, we're trying to the electromagnetic spectrum and seeing like, a voice and response type of thing. Hey, can you make this go to blah, 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 60? Can you make it go to 63.2? And nothing really happened. So that what we did was we use our singing bowls and we amp up the air with a lot of energy. So we use a singing bowl. Try it when you go out. If you want to do Bigfoot hunting or investigating, it works really, really well. And after that, the app started, the meter started fluctuating. I said, can you go to 69 degrees? And it goes to 69. Can you make it 72? Goes to 72. And my buddy's like, what about this? What about that? So it's kind of listening to us. Now we think it's this, I think, and he thinks it's the spirits of the 300 dead that are there, and then I kind of like look up for a minute. And I look up at about the 10 o'clock, the 10-foot mark, and there's a fresh break in the tree. Very consistent with like a Bigfoot or something of its size, 8, 9, 10 feet tall. My buddy sees, he goes, oh, that's interesting. So there are dogs barking in the background. He goes, you know what? I'm going to do a tree knock. Looks around for a tree, piece of branch to hit it. Breaks, really bad branch, crumbling. Finds another one, and the dogs are barking. You hear the neighbor's dogs, roo, 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 something big. And he hits that tree, and it goes dead quiet. still on paranormal mode, not really cryptid. He's like, yeah, you know, there's something Dogman about this whole thing. He was saying it while we were there. He goes, I'm getting a Dogman vibe. I'm like, dude, I'm on paranormal vibe. You know, make the flashlight turn on type of stuff. You know, so we head back down. We note that he goes a little bit to the left. He's looking at the woods. He goes, no, dude, this is so Dogman-like. So I said, okay, whatever. And we hear a big barking. This thing is deep. I mean, this dog had to have been like massive in size. And I said, wow, that's an angry dog. He goes, yeah, that's angry, all right. And as we're coming out, we decide, let's go get something to eat, because then we'll have some food and then night will come in. As we're walking back, we find another path, and it's down this path. I'm going ahead of him, and you know, I'm going in, and we see the umbrella. We literally see that umbrella thing that I just described. There is, and I kid you not, it has to be a huge tree. The circumference is at least 3 feet, 4 feet in diameter. It is up in the air, at least 10 feet, if not higher, with the tree like in the air like an umbrella. And then there are other tree limbs that are wedged into it on an angle coming down. So, like, you know, it looks like a really freaky umbrella. And we know the power guys are coming over there, right? So we're like, there's no guy in the union that's going to say, hey, I'm bored, I'm going to go flip a tree. Not going to happen, okay? And my other buddy is a mailman, by the way. So, you know, there's a little, you know. So walk past this like area, this center area, like monument, and I walk underneath. Well, I kind of walk around it because I don't want something falling on me. And as I'm walking, he goes, Bry, stop. And I'm like, why? Come on, the sounds are coming from. He goes, no, I feel like they're purposely trying to draw us in. And I said, are you sure? He goes, I don't know what to tell you. And his instincts are pretty good. So I said, okay. So we backed out, took some pictures, and we went to town. We ate. When we got there, we decided not to park next to the cemetery area there, which would be a walk in for a quarter of a mile, right? We saw, if you go up a quarter of a mile on the road, just, you know, diagonal to it on the right side, there is a little street light that looks like someone took a trash can, put a hole in it, it's like an old school type of light.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, hung it.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's a path there. So people go on a nature hike or they run or walk through it. So we pull up to it. And when I get out of the car, I'm in the passenger side of his car. I misstep because we're on a grade, 3-foot grade, and I slip down. And I'm like, oh, you know, there's a 3-foot grade here. So I kind of climb back up. And now I know how to skirt out of the truck without falling into this ditch, you know. Last thing I need to be killed. But we go back, we do the investigation. The kids come back, they see us walking in. And they come in like bats out of hell. And like, we're looking for him again. We step out. And I said, let's ask him now. They come in, what are you doing? You know, we're still doing the investigation. Can we ask you a question about the area? No. And they're out. They do not want to be there. I already got it. They're done. They're like in and out. Their dad said, go get them, you know, and they're like, we don't want to go out there. You know, the boogeyman's there. They knew something we didn't. Well, we're doing the investigation and we're sitting there with our backs to that concrete. It's getting darker. The moon appears, and I believe it was a full moon. And then my buddy starts acting weird. He has this weird look on his face. His camera stops working properly, but it's fully charged, won't work. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? He goes, no, I'm not, there's nothing wrong with me. And I know something's wrong with him. Like, he usually gets jumped by spirits. I don't know if you've ever talked about it. Sometimes if you're too open to things, they all attach to you. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm not liking it. You know, I'm like, you sure you're all right? He's like, yeah. And I'm keeping an eye on him. Now, while this is happening, and we're looking at a mound in the dark for the most part. There's no light there. Just the moonlight filtering in through the woods. I swear to God. The next thing that starts happening is this mist starts rolling in, this white mist, which is like, holy crap. And we're like, dude, this is like one of those werewolf movies, right?
It's like American Werewolf in London.
I swear to God, Shane, I'm sitting there going, what are the odds this is happening? So it starts getting colder. It's about November. I have the heated jacket, the Milwaukee heated, but it's really getting colder. We've been there for a couple of hours. I have to pee because it's just cold. I had some caffeine before we go in. I'm not doing it by the cemetery. He's acting weird. I said, you know what? I got to get him out of here. So I said, let's go. We pack up our stuff. We start walking back. And as we're walking out of the area where the cemetery was onto that main road, which was country road, 2 lanes, and we're walking back to his truck, I see eye shine. He sees eye shine by the truck, the passenger side, and it's big eyes, yellow, amber. And we're walking, and we get to his truck, and I walk to the side. I open the door, and I'm still looking at this big thing. I thought it was a deer, but it wasn't. It was what looked like Marmaduke with its ears up, right? In shadow, about no more than 15 to 20 feet from me. It's sitting on its haunches, not moving. So my buddy, he's in the back. He's throwing stuff in there. Come on, Brian, let's go. Let's go. Well, I don't have a license up in New York for any firearms, and we wouldn't take them anyhow. So I have a machete across my chest, one on my back and one on my side, plus a knife. So I said, okay, cool. I throw my backpack into the truck, and I start peeing like Austin Powers in front of this thing. I just can't stop. He's like, get in the car. We can do this later. I'm like, dude, I broke the seal. Not happening. I'm going to pee in your car. Come on. I'm going to leave you. I'm going to leave without you. He wants out. And I'm looking at this thing. It's still not moving. And I'm like, dude, I'm fine. Let me just finish. I'm standing there thinking, this thing looks like a huge dog. Doesn't move. I'm peeing in front of it. Now, that's an alpha move. That means I'm the boss. So I'm basically peeing in front of that dog and saying, I'm the boss, you're my bitch. This is how it works in the dog world, canine. I've had dogs my whole entire life. I know trainers. At one point, he just, in a fluid motion, goes down and disappears in the shadow behind a log. Goosebumps come up. And that little voice goes, get your ass in the car and get the hell out of there now. And I jump in the car. He peels off like Mario and Shredder. He's taking it, and I'm looking out the rear view, and I have my machete ready out, right? So, long story, nothing chased after us. And I'm like, you think that was what I thought it was? And he goes, yeah, Dogman. I said, yeah, why didn't it do anything? He goes, I don't know, but that's what I got. And I kind of got that vibe. I've never seen a dog that big. I mean, let me tell you something. From me standing, I'd say this all the time. I'm on a 3-foot grade. I'm 6 feet, 1 inches tall. That makes me 9 feet, 1 inches tall. Standing. This thing's snout is right here on where my nose is. That means if that thing stands up, it's going to be 9, 10, almost 10 to 11 or 12 feet tall. It was big, and it was wide big too. So it was probably about, it was bigger than me on widthwise. It was big. It was like I've seen some, I think it's called a Lindenberg burger, or I'm probably not pronouncing it right. It's a big dog. At 6 months old, it's almost the height of you, or if you've ever seen a Cane Corso.
Yeah.
Those things are just like ginormous. This thing was really, really wide. It probably, a little bit wide, knee and a half. Why it just went down and didn't do anything. It could have done it, but I don't know. I I think he was getting pissed off, and it says, "Oh, you're the boss. Watch what happens." But that thing went down. It kind of went to the right, and I'm like, "Is he going to take the long way, or is he going to, run at me?" The one thing that I think saved my body and my ass and everything is I had a machete on me. I had 3 of them, and I have a buddy. I don't know if you remember a guy. He's an investigator named Butch Witowski. He was at a PA, former police officer. Great guy. He was investigating something in indigenous, dealing with an indigenous person. So he said, I have this Dogman type of thing in this area. He asked somebody he knew who was native and said, can you find out from your elders? And they said, listen, when you go there, don't bring any firearms, but bring a long sword, which means machete. And they know, these creatures know that if you've ever hunted moose or something big, they have so much skin in the front that it becomes almost like a bulletproof vest. So you can put holes in it and it's still going to be like, you just pissed me off. I'm going to come over and kill you now. But with a long, machete, you'll slice them in half. They're dead. So I think the machete being on my person is what stopped it, for the most part. But yeah, that was as close as I ever wanted to get to that thing, ever. But I did get an experience down here. We were going on 2 paths, and we're doing some Bigfooting with a couple of people. And I know that it's an area. If you have Bigfoot in an area, you'd most likely have a Dogman in the area. But they stay, it's like north and south. Just keep on their sides. Although the Dogmen sometimes just mess around with the Bigfoot and they encroach, and then there's a battle that brews. And we're going, and this one guy goes, and we went down the wrong path, and we came up on what looked like a juvenile Dogman, and it was not happy to see us. He was very, very aggressive, and he started to curl his lip, and he was probably about, a real juvenile, like maybe 4 to 5 feet. It was as the hand, they looked like hands, but with claws coming out of it. And this guy, I'm like, are you all right? He goes, what the hell is that? I said, you need to back up slowly right now. Do not turn around. And he backed out of it. I said, just keep going backwards. Don't worry, just go, go, go. And I was there. I was the last one there, not trying to save face. Where we were, I did have my firearm because I'm allowed to have it down here. And I backed out and I said, you don't want any problems? We're leaving. And it just kind of looked. And then as we backed out, it kind of went down and did its thing. And it's not a pretty thing. It looks like the werewolves of Van Helsing. It is so menacing. It's worse than any mother-in-law.
Oh, but that was down. So that's down in Florida.
Then. It was down in Florida, up in a preserve. There's a preserve just north of me in a different area, about an hour north of me, because there was a report of one.
So
of a Bigfoot. There was a sighting. I was going there for that.
You're going for the Bigfoot and saw the.
And then I'm like, we're in the wrong area. We got to go.
So you mentioned before, like when we first started talking, that there's definitely more sightings up north than there is south. What do you have any thoughts on why that is?
Gun control, and I'm not kidding when I say it.
Really?
Most everybody down south has multiple firearms. And let me tell you something, since I moved to the free state of Florida, some of my friends, one of my buddies owns a gun store, and the power and the ammo and everything it's bigger and bigger. I mean, they have some sick stuff down here. Whereas when you get up to certain areas that are like New York, New Jersey, there's so many restrictions that they don't have to worry about it as much.
Hmm.
I mean, it sounds I know it sounds crazy, but if they, during hunting season, they know what hunting season is. They know when it roughly is, and they know how to skirt that. Everything. Bigfoot knows how to do it. All these creatures that live in these woods, Bigfoot, Dogman, whatever.
I mean, deer know how to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah. Especially if you've
Yeah.
been blind for 4 days. Like, damn it, I just saw one here.
Yeah.
The other day. They know, and they know that during hunting season, some people, 308, 306, AK-47 for some people, because they just don't know what they're doing. Whatever it is, these high-powered, even single-shot bolt actions, they're pretty powerful. And when they go in, it's not going to just go in and stick. It's going to it's going to put a nice watermelon-sized hole in you, and it's going to mess up your day. But if you know an area that, most people don't carry or they don't have it, they're free to do it. That's why they're doing it.
Jeez. Now, do you think these dog men, do they want to engage with people? Do they want to hunt people or eat people? Or do you think they'd rather just be left alone to do their own thing?
So there's so many different reports of these creatures being in residential areas. And when I say residential, I'm not saying, actually there was a report of a dogman in the 1800s, a werewolf that was on Broadway in New York City. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. I had the article. I can't get to it right now, but yeah. And the New York City Police Department shot and killed it. But there's also something that's known, and I've been told this by law enforcement family. There is groups within law enforcement community that are like the X-Files. They handle all the weird stuff. And my uncle, when I mentioned some stuff, he mentioned like you mean like Bigfoot and stuff. He goes, yeah, everything you can think of that's weird and strange, and they handle it. And it's very hush hush. Almost every law enforcement agency in the country has something like that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. But Bigfoot and Dogman love to peek in on homes and see, they're voyeurs. Well, Bigfoot just looks because he's looking for an opportunity for food, easy food, right? He'll steal the dog, he'll go, whatever. For some reason, these creatures have been reported numerous times where they'll get up to the second level and whatever, and they'll be right in your window and they're sniffing you, and then they mess around with you. Like they'll ring the back bell and the front bell, and then the back bell and the front, like 3 a.m. And then they'll say, come outside. They literally will tell you, go outside. Now, I think they're aware of how grotesque they look and how much fear. I think they get off on the fear, that sense of it too. That just jacks them up. But they're super intelligent too. They know that, they're the king of the blocks on that when it comes to stuff like that. And they do, they're the first ones to go nuts, when they, have an opportunity, like, oh dear. Bigfoot is calculating more so than the Dogman, but these fight too. I think they just get off on it. That's the easiest way. Let's scare them. And maybe there's something to the fear angle. Maybe the adrenaline goes to a certain spot. So like, with like when you go hunting with deer, you don't want to get them too excited and running, because then the adrenal glands and they secrete. If you keep, yeah.
Well, it's almost, some of the Dogman stories that I've heard where they don't seem so much as a flesh and blood creature that's trying to hunt you down, but they seem like you're experiencing a supernatural creature in the flesh. It's almost like they do feed off of the fear. Like that's the feed. That's what feeds them.
So there, everything for me changed. I used to be just flesh and blood with all these creatures. Actually, Bigfoot. I did not want to believe Dogman was real. My buddy's like, dude, you got to hear this. You got to hear this. I thought we jumped the shark. You know, that saying, like people make stuff up. And then you have an encounter with it, and then you get called by somebody that should not have your number, because I don't give it out too often to anybody, you know. Very selective. And you get a call from someone that says, you know, I work on a team in the military. My job is to secure bases, and we secure them from these creatures. And Bigfoots are real, Dogmans are real. We take them out. So there was a team, like a couple of years ago. There was a preserve in Colorado, a state park or a federal piece of land. I don't even know what it is. It was shut down, and then they had a 15-mile perimeter by the U.S. government. Nothing coming out. And all these troop carriers were coming in helicopters, and they said there was they were taking care of a deranged or rabid predator, like a bear or something. So they brought the military in. They were getting rid of it. They were taking care of a Dogman that killed people at a like campsite type, you know, national or state park. That killed them.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's an opportunity, you know. Just think about it. That even though there's a lot of stuff in the woods, you know, you get a young Turk, a 17, you know, think of when you were 14, 15, you know, whatever you think, you know, like, you know, I'm on top of the world, ma, you know, whatever. And like, oh yeah, you can open your mouth to me, and you get really like, and then on top of that, take something that is dying to mate, and it has, you know, it's getting excited. It's a recipe for disaster, you know. So
like most of us when we were 16, 17.
100%. It's like 100%.
You were just a dog, man.
And then what happens is you get just so crazy because, like, you know, and you're not thinking, and is it right? I think some of the older ones don't like that because they know what happens. They bring in, it's a problem for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're going to hunt them. And I'm like, cut it out. Don't do that. But these
don't draw unwanted attention by doing something stupid.
Exactly. You know, and with Dogman, they get to the point where they've got claws and razor blade, you know, they're going to kill you. And at that point, it's like, well, swallow the evidence. You know, I was down in Jersey a couple of years ago, and we go to Point Pleasant. They have all these amusement parks. So they take the kids there, and they had a 7 or 8D movie called Werewolf. And I was like, oh, yeah, now I've already seen the real thing. Goes, some guy, we were talking, goes, what do you mean? I said, well, there's a creature called a Dogman. He goes, you know about those? I said, well, yeah, I investigate them and whatever. He goes, check this out. And he told me a story down in the Pine Barrens. So it was a family went camping, and they went missing. So the people we're going Friday, we'll be back Sunday. Well, Monday came, Tuesday, Wednesday, no one heard from them. So their family members like, where are you? You know, so they sent the state police in, and they found the campsite, and it was ripped to shreds like they did in LBL. And same type of, there's like Dogman-esque footprints. Usually the haunch and then the claws, the 3 claws coming out. It's kind of like this, like a you know, you get the. So they kind of hid that, and he has a buddy that's in the state police, and they said, don't go in the Pine Barrens for a long while, dude. They told him everything that happened, because I've never seen anything like it. Whole family was ripped to shreds, slaughtered, you know. And it wasn't the you know, the panther, you know, or the Jersey Devil. They said, whatever the hell this thing is, it's big. It left big footprints. We're not even allowed to talk about it. We're under whatever NDA. So he started telling me about it. They're no joke. Don't get me wrong. Bigfoot is, isn't the nice guy in the block, but they're a hell of a lot nicer than dealing with them than something like that. Because once that fear gets instilled in you, it drives you nuts. It drives you nuts. It's like, I always think of that. The reason why shadow people come to you, some people have shadow people in the middle of the night, the Hat Man, get fearful and then they freeze. And then you have these kid reports of black-eyed kids around the country. Hey, take us to our parents down the road. No, you should drive now. And they try to get you come out of the house or drive them someplace, and then you go missing. I think they work off of fear, like in Monsters Inc. When the monsters come in, scares the kid.
Yep.
That. Because I've noticed one night I had a whole bunch of people. They had a meetup, and once a month, and it was Tuesday night before the meetup. Next day was Wednesday, which when the meetup was. And a friend of mine was going to be there, Rosemary Ellen Guiley, great research investigator, author. I mean, top of the top, unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, around the COVID stuff time, not necessarily from that. So I'm like, oh, cool. I get to see Rosemary. So my wife's sleeping, doors closed. I'm at an apartment. I always shut the lights off. When I had no kids, I can shut the lights off in my house and go in the dark, right? And so I'm in the restroom, which is outside the hallway, where my bedroom is. I shut the lights off in the bathroom, let my eyes adjust, open the door, so now I can see. And I get to my door, and I open the door, and standing in front of me, in blacker than black, looks like somebody that's kind of like a hat or head, big, and I'm like, who the hell? And I gunned it. And I went and I took a swing out of it. It was there. So I'm like, what's going on? I walk in and I look to the right where my bed is. There's another one leaning over by my wife. She's sleeping. You can see it. You see the head and the torso and everything. And it's leaning in, but it's all black. And I'm like, oh, F this. And I ran at it. And I felt that this thing went, had an oh shit moment. It's like, you're not supposed to react that way. And it went poof. And it disappeared. And it just so happens the next night when we were at the meeting, Rosemary was talking about shadow people. And I said, I just had my first experience with them last night. I told her everything that happened. So between the shadow people and the black-eyed kids, they need that fear. I think that often there's some kind of commodity or food that gets generated when you're fearful, be it your adrenal glands or some kind of energy. You're focusing all that there, and they're energy vampires. So it's pretty interesting, Yeah. Crazy. I get it.
Holy smokes. See, now I'm peeking out the window here going, my wife could be home shortly. Do I go out and help her, or do I just stay inside and take her?
You're on your own, honey. It's interesting because when I had kids, my wife has seen some stuff. When we were dating, we had a craft the size of Giant Stadium fly over our house. I mean, our car. And to this day, it was awesome. I should have stopped the car, but I didn't. To this day, she goes, oh, you mean the weather balloons? I'm like, that wasn't a weather balloon. And then just the other 4 weeks ago, she goes, what's this? Because she gets up, these kids go to school real early down here. Like the moon's still out and Jupiter and all these constellations. I'm like, what? There's no sun. They're like 5:30 in the morning, 6. Like I would never have gone to school that early in my life. Never. Right. So they're there like, got to get in by 6. And I'm like, Are you making 100 grand a year? Are you trading? You're in a stock market? What's going on? You know? So she gets up early. She goes out to the back. We didn't have this when we lived in the city. We had an apartment. We didn't have a terrace, you know? So every moment we get a chance to go out in the back, we're there. So she goes, I caught this morning. She sends me shows me this video of a craft that's kind of, I want to say it's vibrating. It's kind of, going back and forth and up and down and zigzagging a little bit, but really tight. Red, orange, green, blue, purple burst. I know that craft. I've seen that craft numerous times. And what my wife doesn't realize is that when we were driving from New York to Florida during COVID to find a place to live, when we were in North Carolina, I pulled the car. My wife, my two kids were sleeping in the back. I was in an hour from Florence, South Carolina. That's my stop, because I was in Fayetteville, and I saw an object, red, orange, green, blue, burst, purple. I'm like, so I pulled the car off 301. They shut down the highway because who shuts down 95? It's a major thoroughfare, but they were doing construction on it. Put us on Rule 301. I'm good with that. They're sleeping. I want a cigarette. I roll the car, put it to a stop, shut the interior light off, close the door gently, smoke a cigarette while looking at this craft that's going red, orange, green, blue, purple burst. And it was 11:45. So I should be, by the time I left, it would have been 12. So I should be in Florence, South Carolina, no later than 1 o'clock in the morning. So I'm watching it. I'm wishing I had better cameras. Cool. There's bursts, there's flares. And the next thing I know, I wake up in my car and I have a really bad headache. And I'm like, what the hell happened? I don't even remember coming in. So I have the Waze app and it's on my dashboard. And I go, okay, not even thinking about I'm trying to figure out how did I get in the car? Why does my head hurt? Did I fall asleep in the car? I was just outside the car. I tap on the Waze and it says, do you want to resume? I said, yes, because you'll be at your destination at 4 a.m. I'm like, what? It was just 11:45. So we were missing about 3 hours of time. Now, when we get to the hotel, oh yeah, I didn't tell her that. That's why I know that craft. I know it very, very well. We get to the hotel and my oldest daughter, she never gets sick. She's strong as an ox. She's crazy strong. She's tall. She's complaining, my head hurts. I don't feel it. My younger one, oh, I got a headache. Even the wife's, my neck hurts. What time is it? I said, it's 4 a.m. She goes, what took so long? And I didn't say, we just got abducted by aliens. You can't say that to them. No, they closed the highway down. So great. Long story short, we go upstairs, we sleep. When we get up in the morning, my youngest goes, Dad, can you help, with my shirt? And, give my shirt. So I pass her the shirt. She sleeps with her sister in the bed. And when she gets up from the bed, I see on the bed a little bit of spot, a red spot, looks like blood spot. So I'm like, okay, here, he goes, help me. She takes the shirt off. Here, I help her take the shirt off. I give her her shirt. Here, turn around. And I look on her back, and just where her, the wing is on the back of you, on the right side, she has a BB indentation mark, like a scoop mark. Right there, which would line up directly with the red thing. Cool, whatever. Can't tell everybody that we've been abducted. Go to Florida, we hang out. The craft appears again, our last day there, hovering in the night in the sky, going into a friend's house. I said, you can take me, you can take my wife, don't touch my kids. I literally said it in my mind. I said it to don't not touch my children. Okay, yeah, whatever, big guy. We drive back up to New York and we get up there and we get up there on a Friday. It's just I take about 3 days to get up there. We're going to meet one of my wife's friends at a restaurant in Tarrytown, right in Sleepy Hollow where the Headless Horseman is. Right there. And so we're all sitting outside. I tell her, listen, I'm going to go inside, use the restroom. I'll pay the bill. It's our treat, whatever. And I do that. I come back out and my wife was holding my oldest daughter's face. I'm like, what happened? My youngest is a little bit wiry, she'll go at you sometimes. That's my ride and die right there. She goes, she just started having a nosebleed. This girl does not have anything. She goes, and this came out of her, and they give. Okay, it was no bigger than this, which is my headphones thing, but it's about as thick as. It really wasn't that thick. It was like take 3 or 4, like no thicker than a penny. So I'm trying to show it right there.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was spongy white stuff. And I'm like, this is the investigator in me and also the father. Like, ooh, I'm sorry, honey. I think I have evidence that extraterrestrials are real. So I reached into my pocket because it's COVID. It's around the COVID thing. And I use plastic sandwich bags. These bad boys right here. And I open it up, turn it inside out, and I grab it. I said, I'll throw it out. I'm not throwing it out. I know somebody that worked at the college, NYU in City. They work genetics. I'm going to get like $20,000 worth of genetics testing done for. Bingo. And they know, like, if they hit it big, they'll get paid because they'll do it again and then whatever. And the weird thing is every time I try to put it in the refrigerator to keep the DNA, I kept forgetting about it. Something always stopped me from moving forward with it to the point where I'm like, almost like it was a race for me. Like you're not allowed to do what you're doing. Like I was being stopped. And over a couple of days, I didn't put it away in the freezer to keep it fresh. It crumbled. It turned into a powder, and I lost every bit of evidence there was. It was done. But I've seen that crowd. Yeah. And every time I get a ring in the people. Yeah. I don't want to think, know the wife's coming home, but.
That I wasn't expecting that story.
Trust me, I wasn't expecting it either, Sean. Dude, what? I had a missing time experience in 2015 with a Bigfoot UFO portal time rip. We had a 2-hour experience, and this I was not expecting. You see stuff out of, okay, here's the current drone situation, right?
Yeah.
So when I see this stuff and I know enough of it, this didn't feel like it was a drone, but I'm near Fort Bragg, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Very well could have been a fort. This was totally different. I did not expect to be losing, I expected to smoke a cigarette, get in my car, and then be at a hotel by like 1:45 in the morning or 1 o'clock, the latest. And it didn't happen. Yeah, I never got regressed, and I don't want to get regressed. I say this all the time. If by some miracle I have extraterrestrial hybrid children, they took some sperm from me and they used it for whatever. The only thing I want to do, I want to meet them. I would like to know. And that's the type of person I am. I mean, it's going to be like, wow, that's weird. Is the harm come right out of the forehead? Or, that would be kind of strange, but kind of cool. And I want their social security number so I can claim on my taxes. That's about it. That's like 13 to be a kid, right? Mr. Bowden, it says right here, your first child. Yes. It's a hybrid, but yeah. Their mother supposedly comes from. That's it.
I think there's a Uranus joke in there somewhere.
It's got to be a Uranus joke. I think I'm sure they did something with my Uranus. Everybody's like, oh, did they probe you? And they don't realize with men, that's how you get a sperm sample real quick. You remember the movie? What was it? Van Wilder?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. 2 fingers tonight, that's how they get a certain spot within each human being. And that will trigger an instant orgasm. That's what the probe's for. I don't want to know. People say, do you want to get regressed? I'm like, do you want to remember a stick going in places or whatever? No. Remember going to college or school or hanging out with buddies and you're like, dude, you do not want to know what happened to you last night. Trust me.
Yeah, since I've never drank, I've got to say that to a lot of my buddies.
Yes.
And
So you understand. You understand the content.
Yeah.
You know,
I've seen him do some stuff that seemed out of this world. Totally.
Yeah. And you're like, dude, you may be my hero at this point. What you did last, and they don't believe I didn't do that. I did that. You're the reason I don't drink. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
So I don't want to get regrets for it though, but yeah.
I don't blame you. Well, Brian, an hour has flown by. Like,
yes, sir.
We didn't even get to talk Bigfoot, so we're gonna have to set something up and talk Bigfoot.
Well, you know what? Like, I my pleasure. I always love being back. I'm doing a new show. It's going to be in the new year. I try to start in September, but life's been a little bit difficult. Everybody's been having that problem. It's Wednesdays from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern. It's a live show. It's called Third Eye Live. So, and basically, it's not really paranormal as much as it. And I want this man writes music. He makes music, and he makes really good songs. You got to go listen to him. Go to his website. But I want to know how your third eye, your consciousness, that inner whatever, helps you to do what you do, drives you to do what you do. There has to be something there. It has to come from someplace. And I'm trying to, get people on that are musicians and artists. Of course, we'll get the usual paranormal suspects, and I have the ability to take phone calls on my Roadcaster.
Okay.
So we can, so if you have a psychic come on or a card reader, I have a couple of good card readers that are fun and wonderful and pretty good. And I want someone to call in, and have them drop 3 cards and give them a reading, but I would love to have you on. It's called Third Eye Live.
Oh yeah, definitely. When is that going to start, and where can they find it on YouTube?
It's going to be on YouTube. If you go to my YouTube, I'm only monitoring. I am tired of doing 25 YouTube channels. It's the worst. So go to youtube.com/ BryanBowden. You'll see me. And sign up for it. And whenever the Third Eye Live drops, or the UFO stuff that we've been posting about drones, you'll see everything there. You'll see my music in there. And it's just what it is. I just keep UFO files, but that's where everything's going to be. All the episodes are going to be. Anytime I post something, it's going to be there. I'm not posting to New York City UFO Project, New York Sasquatch Group, the Dogman. I can't do it anymore. I just want one channel, one posting.
We will put a link up directly to your YouTube channel in the bottom of this.
Yeah, I just
episode.
Want a Marshall amp with the head and the speaker and plug directly into it. I don't want any effects or anything. I'll just turn up the gain. That's how I want to play from now on. Yeah, it's so much easier though, right?
Hey, look, I couldn't do all the crap we do here by myself. We have good help.
Oh, yeah.
Trust me.
You just tell everybody, if you're still in there with the judge and everybody else, have a blessed and very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, be safe, and cheers to an alien invasion.
All right. Well, Brian, thanks again for hanging out. You let me know. I'll be over there on your show, and we'll talk music and all kinds of stuff.
If we can get you to play some stuff too, I want to do like a jam thing, because they have a couple of people that play music. Really, just get up there, put the headphones on. The delay may be a little bit weird,
Well, I don't play anything.
You don't have to. You just write some lyrics. We'll write some lyrics together, and we'll just come up with something. We'll have an audience go B, C, E sharp, A7. Okay. See if that works.
Well, hey, thanks for hanging out, and we'll make it work. And thanks for surprising me with the alien abduction story.
What? I'm just waiting for the kids to find. We were abducted by aliens. I'm like, yeah, well. Oh, you listened to a couple episodes of your old man, didn't you?
All right, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the From the Shadows podcast. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.
God only knows what's hiding